it's the biggest patch in Bazaar history because it's only patch number 2, but we have full patch notes. So, I mean, I'm going to jump through them all, so let's not waste any time. All right, new content. We have the sparring partner encounter. This is something that they spoke about a long time ago. Way before I got to play the game. Years ago. The way this encounter used to work, and the way I assume it still will, is you go into it with your build, and you will fight an enemy, and they might have a single weapon, right? And like only 100 health. And you'll beat them very easily. And then you fight them again, but now they have 2 weapons and 200 health. And you beat them. And you fight them again, and now they have 2 weapons and a utility item and 300 health. And you beat them. And you keep going until you can no longer beat them. And then you get a reward based on how far you go. That's one way that this event used to work. Another way that the similar event used to work was that you would fight a copy of yourself. But that I can't see necessarily being where they go with this, because it's just going to have your exact build. It's going to be a coin flip as to who wins. And then there was a final version of this where there was simply just a hard encounter and you fought against them. And I don't believe it particularly punished you for losing to that. You were almost expected to lose that. So a few variations of how that might work. I'm looking forward to seeing it. And I mean, they're already bringing new content to the game. This is what we need to see to make builds less repeatable, right? We want to make builds a lot harder to force. This is the right way of doing it. They've added a variety of new skills and a variety of new level up options. I guess we'll dive in and find those out over the next couple of days. And art has been updated for a variety of encounters, so we might finally get rid of all that grayscale stuff, or maybe at least some of it. Balance changes general. Level up reward system adjusted. Conditional level up spawning removed. People don't have to sell unwanted items early anymore to try and avoid dud level up rewards. Interesting. Conditional level up spawning removed. Level up will now show 5 options instead of 3. So I guess what happens now is you don't see... Like, if you have a shield item, it's not going to guarantee show you upgrade your leftmost shield item. Now it's just going to show you 5 completely random things. So it might show you upgrade your leftmost heal item, and you don't have a heal item, right? That is entirely plausible now, but because you're now seeing 5, there's a more of a chance that there's something good there. I don't know. I kind of don't like this change, but I guess we'll see. It's going to make it, again, it's going to make it harder to force the build that you're doing. The reason why I didn't mind it in this sense is because previously it was giving you level up rewards for the build you already have, which felt good. Then again, I do like pivoting, so maybe this is good in the long run. Time will tell. Level up reward to level 5 is now a fixed upgrade your leftmost item, same as level 10. That is a good change. I like that. That's kind of... I'm glad they introduced that. It kind of makes up for the previous one. Bloodreef Raider now starts with a silver tier Crow's Nest instead of gold. That's just going to make crit builds a lot weaker. This used to be the case as well. He used to have a silver one, but before the beta test, Crow's Nest used to give your opponent crit chance as well. So Crow's Nest was actually a really bad item. So giving you a gold tier item for free effectively was probably a buff they did to Bloodreef Raider before, and now they don't need it. Significantly increased the rate of combat from the Mountain Pass event. Let's go. We can finally fight in the Mountain Pass event. We will definitely be testing that tomorrow. Sponsorship, cash riches, and regenerative tincture now scale with player level. This is fantastic. Late game, if you've got one of these for free, these are the freebie events that give you random gold, change, or regen, just +3 regen. You just never cared to see these, right? You were like, I don't really care for this anymore. Just because it's so weak. Now it's going to scale with your player level, which is much, much better. So maybe we'll see like +5 and +6 regen later on and stuff, which is plausible in some builds. Sponsorship now available to all heroes. That was I believe the spend 1 or lose 1 income to get a bunch of gold. Deadly Crooner now has the Halady instead of Yo-Yo. Smart change. It was far too easy to get double Yo-Yo. Jules' Cafe no longer costs gold. Ooh, that's nice. I feel like that's going to make Jules' Cafe an even better option. I already liked it, especially late. Now it's also especially good early, because 20 damage on all of your weapons, which was the final option of Jules' Cafe, used to cost you 4 gold. It's not something you really want to invest in that early, like 4 gold for a temporary increase in your damage, but it's free now. So if you like, say you're playing Dooley and you've got a pretty weak early game build, and you know that you're just trying to save money and scale for late, you get given 3 options of an encounter before your fight. You've got JJ, and you're like, well, I don't care about any of the items, so I'm not going to bother with JJ. Maybe you get Regenerative Tincture, and like, I really don't care for regen. Jules' Cafe is in the middle. You can go there, get 20 damage on all your items, and maybe actually win that early fight now. That's going to be insane. Backup defenses, now shields based on players' max health, and starts at gold tier. So here we see on Bazaar builds, backup defenses. The first time you fall below half health each fight, double the shield of your shield items. This was the doubling one. That's why, yes. So now it shields based on your max health rather than doubling, and starts at gold tier. That's a nice nerf to this. This one just felt too strong. There were similar ones that would buff your like weakest shield item. This one just doubles, so yeah, I much prefer this way around. Knife Tricks now reduces the weapons cooldown by 5% when you use it and starts at diamond tier. Oh, okay, now that makes sense. So Knife Tricks, this was when you use a weapon, reduce its cooldown by 4%, starting at gold and then going to 6% at diamond. That's just straight been nerfed. And I thought, as soon as I saw that it had been buffed to 5, I was like, wow, that's amazing, but it's actually enough because it starts at diamond tier, so it's going to be a lot harder to find Knife Tricks now. Yeah, so good luck trying to find that one. Alright, balance changes. Shipwreck now actually starts at diamond tier with +1 multicast. This is something they had suggested was going to happen in the previous run. So instead of being gold at +1 multicast and diamond for +2 multicast, it's now just going to be gold for +1 multicast. That's it. That's all you get. Clamourer is no longer a tool and slows for 1 second, down from 2. So that's a nice nerf to Clamourer, actually. I wondered how they were going to do this. Clamourer was obviously too strong. At the start of each fight, use this, and then every 9 seconds also use it, and it slows an item for 2 seconds. And then it scales up by slowing multiple items. So this was just at diamond, would be slow 4 of your enemy's items at the start of the fight for 2 seconds. It was just way, way too strong. I like that it's no longer a tool. That'll make it harder to find. You won't be able to get it from Orion anymore, the tool merchant. And it won't be able to interact with skills that interact with tools, such as the one that gives tools multicast. That was a little bit broken on Clamourer. And now making it 1 second slow instead, far less punishing for the enemy player. Swashbuckle Deadly now provides double crit chance bonus. I wonder what Swashbuckle Deadly was doing. Was it instead giving like adjacent items 50% crit chance? That would have been insane. And Swashbuckle Shiny now provides double damage, healed, and shield bonuses. I imagine this was bugged and was giving, because Shiny by default, we can see in here actually, is +1 multicast. So I wonder if this was giving adjacent items multicast, which would have been actually broken. So yeah, just some enchantment nerfs to Swashbuckle, I think, is a fair play. And these are the only changes to balance for Vanessa. No haste, poison changes at all, which I'm actually kind of okay with because I think there is play around it. Alright, Dooley, here we go. All of Dooley's starting cores now start at a 7-second cooldown, which does not decrease on upgrade. They were previously started at 8, and there were some inconsistencies. They were. The base core was shorter. So here are the cores. We have cooldown 8. Combat core is not a real item. I mean, it's not a core. Cooldown 7, cooldown 8, cooldown 8, and then cooldown 7 for this one, and cooldown 8 for this one. So there were a lot of inconsistencies. They now all start at 7 and do not decrease on upgrade, which is huge because things like the core would decrease every level. Maybe not every level, silver was the same, but gold and diamond goes down to 5. Ignition core stays at 8 the whole time. So they're going to, basically the cores are going to be a lot more consistent now. They're going to be stronger earlier, 7 seconds is a lot lower, but they're not going to decrease on upgrade. So now you're going to be looking for things like the, not the cog, what is it? The scrap metal. You're going to be looking for scrap metal now to reduce the core's cooldown. At gold and diamond tiers, it reduces the core's cooldown by up to 2 seconds. So that's going to be that, and feathers, obviously going to be the way you're looking to reduce the core's cooldown now. Robotic Factory, the same thing as with with Shipwreck. Instead of being multicast at 1 at gold and 2 at diamond, it's now diamond only and +1 multicast only. So the nerf that we were supposed to see previously. Combat Core now counts as a vehicle in addition to... They've got to have nerfed this, right? Combat Core is pretty damn strong. Like, Combat Core is the way I've been getting 10 wins consistently on Dooley. And now they're buffing it. Let's see what happens here. Critical Core Deadly. Now gives plus 50 crit chance instead of doubling its crit damage. So the inverse of Swashbuckle Deadly. So this will make the Critical Core itself... So Critical Core, which already has, let's say, a Diamond tier, base 30% crit chance. It'll now have plus 80% crit chance because Deadly gives you plus 50% crit chance, as you can see here. And then when you crit with any item, you charge it 1 second. So that would include itself. So that's a nice little change for Critical Core. Baylista base damage increased to 20 up from 10 and cooldown reduced from 5 from 6. I like that they're including what it's changed from, but I will still endeavor to show you guys, but apparently I can't spell Ballista. It's Ballista, that's why. These names, man. So Ballista, let's stick her at diamond tier. Used to, well, actually no, it's silver. It's the same at every tier, damn. She was always deal 10 damage, regardless of what tier. And then when it gains haste, you gain increasing damage, 10, 20, and eventually 40. It was one of the weaker weapon friends for Dooley to have. Weak point detector's damage buff increased from 3, 6, 9, 12 to 3, 6, 9, 12 from 2, 3, 4, 5, 12 at max. Okay, weak point detector is one of my favorite Dooley items. I love slow builds across all heroes. Yeah, this thing I used to use quite regularly. So one thing, they haven't said that it scales anything other. So yeah, I assume the scaling is still there. So previously it would be 2, 3, 4, 5. But what you also get is that the charge goes. So weak point detector, when you slow with any item or any effect, you charge this item, this 6-second cooldown item. But at diamond tier, you charge it 4 seconds of its 6-second cooldown. So let's say you have a Clamourer, right? A diamond Clamourer that's targeting 4 enemy items. At the start of the fight, that charges this by, 24 seconds? 4 times, not 24, 16 seconds. So it would activate this twice at the start of the fight, which previously would have been plus 5 damage to all of your weapons, which is kind of okay. It's whatever. But now, it's 12 damage each time. So this is a huge buff to weak point detector. Slow Dooley stonks are going up. Chemsnail has gained slow an item at 6-second cooldowns. Nice. But poison on slow reduced to 1, 2, 3, 5 from 1, 2, 4, 8. So this is what Chemsnail used to do back in the day. Chemsnail at the moment is just a purely passive item, which means it can't be hasted. It can't really take the effect of too many enchantments. So it's nice for it to get that. And then it is also an application of slow by itself. So Chemsnail by itself is now useful because it does apply a slow, which means it ticks its own poison. The sad thing about this is this might have changed how enchantments work with Chemsnail. So let's say you want to apply burning to your Chemsnail. It might now apply it to its active ability rather than its passive, which is going to suck. But hey, it's still a nice change. I think it's a bit of a side grade, but should be more consistent for Chemsnail. Armadillo's when you shield effect now deals damage equal to its shield value. Interesting, rather than its damage. So Armadillo at the moment deals, when you shield, deal 5 damage. I guess it never had damage, so now it'll be when you shield, deal damage equal to Armadillo's shield. So Armadillo will benefit more from buffing shielding than it will from buffing attack. So it'll benefit way more from the defensive stance skill, which when you use a weapon, your shield items get more shield, than it will from sharp corners, which is when you shield, your weapons gain 20. So this, I think, is actually, again, it's a bit like Chemsnail. It's a bit of a side grade. It means the strong ways of playing Armadillo are no longer going to work. However, it might see more consistent play now. PR Conditioner starting at Diamond tier is absolutely fine. PR Conditioner was Dooley's broken little freeze friend. Freeze one item for 1 second. We use the core, freeze an item for 1 second. I like this change. It's simply because Pierre Conditioner comes online pretty early, which means if you're running a Dooley friend build, or if you're running into Dooley friend builds, by the time you're getting to gold items consistently, you're running into Pierre Conditioner and your entire board is just permafrozen, right? At least if this is only happening at Diamond, it's a big investment and it's not going to be until much later in the game. So I'm very happy about this one. Omega Ray now starts at Silver tier instead of Gold tier. This was the Poison one, I believe. No, sorry, the Burn one. Okay, so Omega Ray used to be Gold only. So you can now get the Burn Ray a little earlier. I have finally had all the Burn item build. All of the Ray builds. It was very fun. So I'm glad that'll be a lot easier to pull off now. Pulse Rifle now starts at Bronze tier instead of Silver. Its cooldown is increased from 4 to 2-4 from 3. And the multicast effect now doubles if the friend is your only friend. Okay. So Pulse Rifle was a really good item. I really enjoyed this item. Base Silver tier, deal 15 damage, but it gains +1 multicast if it's adjacent to a friend, and it's only a 3-second cooldown item. So if you couldn't find missiles and you wanted a fast triggering item for Dooley, or many triggers, basically to like activate your core, right? Or to power up your combat core, or to use duct tape, or whatever you want this for. Dooley has a lot of reasons to want fast firing items. This would every 3 seconds be 2 ticks of something, right? Now, every 4 seconds, it'll be 2 ticks of something if the adjacent friend is your only friend. However, it does say the multicast effect now doubles. So maybe it's actually +1 multicast if adjacent to a friend, +2 multicast if it's adjacent to your only friend. So this might actually be quite a nice change. And it starts at Bronze tier as well. I have to experiment with this one. I think I'm right with that second part. I think it can be an X3 item now. If you're only using one friend, which could be very, very interesting. I want to see how that works. Power Drill now deals 20, 40, 80, 160, and when you haste, slow, freeze, poison, or burn, charge this. So Power Drill was a bit of a meme. Power Drill, burn yourself for 3, but deal 15 damage, and when it gains haste, reduce its cooldown by 1 second. Now it looks like it's just going to be a 10-second cooldown item, so it's going to take ages to charge. But whenever you haste, slow, freeze, poison, or burn, charge this by, at Diamond tier, 2 seconds. Which is only 5 triggers of any of these at max rank to do 160 damage. I can see a world in which this works. I can see this working now. Monster Lizard now starts at Bronze tier. That's actually nice. This will unlock haste poison for Dooley. So at the moment it's gold. Damn. I knew I wasn't seeing much Monitor Lizard play, but wow. That is actually going to change that massively. Dooley is now going to have consistent access to a haste poison build, much like Vanessa's. Light Clockwork now gives your weapons damage and gives double damage if you have a core that is a weapon. Okay, so that's just a bit of consistency. Light Clockwork, just an amazing skill. When you level up, give the core plus damage, but if you get it, so it's bronze, it's +5. But if you get it at gold tier as your first skill, it's +30, which you're getting levels pretty quickly throughout the game. +30, I mean, this is just really strong now. Gives your weapons damage and gives double damage if you have a core that is a weapon. So it's going to give, if you get it at gold, assuming that the numbers haven't changed, it's going to give, if you have your core, and before the end of day 1 you level up, and you have this at gold tier, your core will get 60 bonus damage, which is going to basically like 4-shot any enemy you come across. Not only that, but your weapons will also get +30 damage. This skill was really good already, and it is now like SS plus Giga Broken tier. Maybe not Giga Broken, but I think it's just very, very, very value. Forklift now deals 50/100 damage, up from 30/60 for each item to the left of it. I was trying to make a bunch of these items work the other day because Dooley has a bunch of like quirky items like Forklift that just never get used because they're just not strong enough, and now they're getting buffed, which is nice. Deal damage. We now know what this is supposed to say. Deal 30 damage for each item to the left of this. And then at diamond tier, it'll be deal 60 damage for each item to the left of this. So forklift now got a lot more potential. I still don't know if it's going to be too strong, right? It's a large item, so at max, this will be 700 damage. That's not incredible. It's a, 10-second cooldown item? Yeah, I don't see it working still, but, I mean, a buff is a buff. Kinetic Cannon now gains 10, 20, 40 damage from, from 20, 30, 40 for the fight. Huh. They nerfed Kinetic Cannon. Was it too strong early? I don't think I ever ran into this early. So Kinetic Cannon, when you use a small item, it gains damage for the fight, right? And it starts off with 100. So it gaining 20 at silver, I don't think that's crazy. And then it gains 30 and then 40. But now it's going to gain 10, then 20, then 40. So basically you have to have it at diamond. Or at least it doubles each round. Interesting change. I don't think let me know in the comments if that has actually been a problem for anyone else. Railgun has been redesigned. It now deals 100/200 damage and is charged by 1/2 seconds when you use the core. Railgun, I think this was the one that gained damage when you use the core. Yeah, when you use the core, this gains 50 damage for the fight, and it was a 10-second cooldown item. Now it deals 100/200 damage base, and is charged by 1/2 seconds when you use the core. Or use a core, I guess it should say. Because combat core would also trigger it, as well as any of Dooley's base cores. Scrap metal now starts at gold tier. Okay, that's a nice change. We saw that earlier. This is the item that upgrades your core when you sell it and reduces the cooldown. It's starting at gold tier. I wonder if that means at gold tier, scrap metal is now just going to upgrade the core, and then at diamond tier, it'll reduce the cooldown by 1 second. I imagine that's what's going to happen. And then Beta Ray now only freezes small items. That's a shame. This was one of the best freeze items left in the game. I know you're not best freeze items, but like, now that Destroy got nerfed entirely, this was a very consistent way of locking down your enemy's items. And yeah, now it can only freeze small items, which is, it's okay. I would often include it as a bit of a splash in my builds. It's now less value as a splash, but I think overall, I mean, Dooley's power level, Dooley's consistency definitely increased thanks to this core change and a bunch of these other changes. Dooley's power level may have decreased a little bit because of the cores no longer going faster and scrap metal no longer being better, but they buffed combat core. It now counts as a vehicle. I don't know. I think Dooley's looking side graded. I said that multiple times during that phase, but Dooley looks a little bit side graded. All right, on to Pygmalien. We're getting ready for some big changes now. Luxury Tents. Multicast no longer scales to +2 at Diamond. So Luxury Tents used to be the first time you die each fight. Heal for 25% of your max health at Gold. Still does that. And your heal items have +1 multicast. And then upgrade to Diamond. 50% of your max health whenever you would die. And 2x multicast on heal items. The 2x is gone. It's just 1x on both now, and only the health resource scales. Restorative Luxury Tent is fixed. I wonder what that was. Maybe it just didn't do anything. Washy Washy Bird, or Washy Wally, or whatever it's supposed to be called. Healing increased to 10, 30, 60, 100. Basically doubled from 5, 15, 30, 50. And multicast is now +1 instead of +2. Okay, perfect. So this damn little bird that we've all been seeing, this is completely balked. But it would heal for some amount, 5, 15, 30, 50, whatever. But then it would gain ×2 multicast for each property you had on the board. So you could quite easily get this, or you could very easily get this to X5. With like an ATM and a snow globe, you could very easily get this to X7. Which means that was 7 times triggering your yo-yo, 7 times triggering your vineyards, all these other incredible powerful items, which I can see has been redesigned. Interesting. Now that's down to ×1. So it is half as effective as a triggering item, but it is twice as effective, if not more so, at healing. So this is actually a healing item now rather than a triggering item. That being said, it still has multicast. It is not dead. This thing can still very much be used because multicasts are few and far between. Beehive no longer uses all busy bees on weapon use. Because that was a bug, as confirmed, people who thought that they were not bug abusing. No, it's fine, we're in beta. Instead, it only uses one busy bee on enemy item use. Yeah, so this was always the intended purpose. So when an enemy uses an item, one busy bee will hit them. Not your entire entourage of busy bees will swarm them. Beehive is still very much something you can use. It'll still be interesting, but it'll be more of a meme pick and very situational. Brass Knuckles, the second effect is now, this has double damage instead of, while this has 40 or more, it has +1 multicast. Interesting. Second effect. So what's Brass Knuckles' first effect? Oh, just deal 5 damage. Okay. This is alright, I guess. It's basically the same thing, but a bit of a nerf. So previously, this would be a multicasting item, which means it's lots of triggers. And while you had 40 or more damage on it, it would trigger twice, therefore do double damage. It now just does double damage. So it's not a second trigger, but it doesn't need to be more than 40 damage, base damage, to have that double effect, right? So it's a bit more consistent, but a bit less sort of ceiling. Loop now starts at gold tier. That's sad for everyone. I love this item. This basically lets you go infinite on money with Pygmalien. Your small items have +1 sell value. You get this at silver tier, and you can just go to like chocolate bar vendors all the time. You can do gumballs for free, right? It costs you 10 gumballs, 10 money to get all the gumballs, but you sell each one for 1 anyway, so you get 10 back. Really, really, really good item. Just great for Pygmalien's economy. It's now going to start at gold, so it's going to be +1 at gold and +2 at diamond. No longer +3. Bit of a shame that Loop's gone, but hey, I'll survive. Golf clubs increased cooldown from 7 to 7 rather from 6. This is the first of these changes I've seen. I expected to see a little bit more of increased cooldown from this to this, to be perfectly honest. Time to kill is looking a lot better in the Bazaar now, but I still think there were some items that could have had this change. So golf clubs, when you heal, this gains damage. It scales with tier, so 10, 20, 30, 40. Cooldown was 6 seconds. Cooldown's now going to be 7 seconds, which might be a blessing in disguise. That gives it longer before its first attack for you to charge it up, right? But yeah, it's definitely going to be not quite as strong anymore, especially with the changes to the bird and some of the changes we have coming up. I went ahead of myself. Crook damage and damage bonus reduced from 10, 20, 40 to... Right, I was saying Crook's damage and the damage buff was the same. I never noticed that. Let me double check. I'm not going crazy, am I? Yeah, 10, 10, 20, 20, 50, 50. That's crazy. So it's rescaled from 10, 20, 50 to 10, 20, 40. So Crook, slight nerf. Just a slight little nerf. Which I think is okay. I don't think Crook needed a huge nerf. I'm glad they've nerfed some of the things around it, like Caltrops, one of the main Crook abusers, now starting at diamond tier. This would, when your enemy uses an item, would deal 5 damage, but with Crook, it would deal like 250 damage. So anytime your enemy used an item, you were just destroying them. Now it's going to be significantly less. It's going to be 50 less damage because 5 times 40 is lower than 5 times 50 because you can have 5 medium items. And it starts at diamond tier, so you're not going to get this very early. You're going to have to wait until you get this at diamond. Nice change. There are some NPCs that get Caltrops, so I'm interested to see if they keep it and it goes to diamond tier or if it changes. Beast of Burden damage and damage bonus reduced from 10, 20, 40, 80 from 10, 25, 50, 100. Interesting. So previously, Beast of Burden at each tier you could get it up was significantly stronger. I guess it's still the same. It doubles each rank, but it definitely feels less strong. So Beast of Burden is your classic. When you buy an item, this gains 10 damage, scaling all the way up to this gains 100 damage. You could very easily, and I have had it a couple of times, got this thing to the point where it is one-shotting everyone. It is a 10-second cooldown, but you can speed that up in a variety of ways. It was very, very fun. It's going to be harder to get to that point now, but it's still going to be possible. Balcony effect, balcony value effect now only triggers in combat. Was that not happening? The property of the left has double value and has its cooldown. Oh, wow. So you could use that to sell things back. I did not notice this was the case. Interesting. Well, yes, okay, so Balcony now works the same way that all of the other value increasing items do. It only triggers in combat. Because the point of them is to increase your value in combat for all of Pygmalien's value triggers, not to allow you to sell properties for their face value back to merchants. Signet Ring now starts at gold, silver instead of gold. I think this is a really nice change. This item feels pretty useless when you get it. At the start of each hour, gain 10 max health, you have +1 income. It feels very, very bad. Not very, very bad, but like I'll buy it and I'll leave it in my stash if I have space. But typically, Pygmalion likes to have stash space, to like cycle through a bunch of items and stuff. It can kind of get in the way, and for just 10 health each hour, at gold, at this point you're quite far through your run, you're not noticing 10 max health. But at silver, I mean, you could technically, if it's in the pool, you could start with this item now and get 10 max health every hour for the entire run. Giant Ice Club, we tried to make this work the other day, and it nearly did, very, very nearly. Now has when any item gains freeze, charge this 1 to 2 seconds. So it's like the giant bone from the other NPC. From if your enemy has frozen item, it deals double damage. Yeah. So, Giant Ice Club deals 500 damage at gold, 1000 damage at diamond, and will now be when any item gains freeze, charge this 2 seconds at diamond tier, because it's a 9-second cooldown item. That's okay. I mean, Pygmalion has a lot of access to freeze. You've got multicasting snow globes that'll trigger this by 6 seconds by itself. That's significantly scary. I can see this getting more play now. I don't know if it'll get a lot more play, but just a little more. Endurance. This must be... Oh, yeah. Now gives your heal items +20/30 heal for the fight when you use a weapon and starts at gold tier. I was like, I don't recognize this card. It's because it's the skill. Endurance. Your heal items have plus heal equal to half the damage of your highest damage item. If you only had one damage item, like a golf clubs, and you were spamming heals to make it stronger, your heals would then also get stronger. I had a run where I got a number of my healing items to 10,000 healing each. It was incredibly silly. That was with Kukri. So yes, Endurance now just gives a flat bonus to healing items of +20/30 each time you use a weapon, and starts at gold tier. Vineyard has been redesigned. This was previously the sort of cornerstone of the Pygmalion heal builds, or one of the cornerstones. When you use an item, heal equal to this item's value, and it will gain value each hour. The main thing is the fact that any item being used would trigger a heal, which means if you have golf clubs, if you have kukri, things like that, you are triggering so many heals. If you had bushel, you were triggering shields, right? Now it heals 1/2/3 times its value when you use an item. Huh? I don't necessarily understand what they've changed. Has been redesigned. It now heals 1, 2, or 3 times its value when you use an item. Okay. I was coming into this like, Vineyards has been changed. Because it used to be broken. It's now basically exactly the same. The only thing is they've removed this, right? I think. At the start of each hour, this gains value. That doesn't exist anymore. Now you're just gaining 1, 2, or 3 times its value. So you need to scale its value yourself. And this is the same with Landscraper, by the way, which is just the shield equivalent. You need to scale the value yourself, but it still is when you use an item heal, or when you use an item shield, which means it's still that potentially relatively broken trigger, which I get, like, they've nerfed Bird, so maybe that's enough. Maybe this is enough. We'll see, though. I still think this is going to be strong, which I think is okay. And I've noticed this with people still using Dagger Vanessa, and I've seen people still using Scrapers as well. Just because it was broken doesn't mean it needs to be nerfed into the ground. I'm glad that these things will still be around in some shape or form. And then Model Ship Deadly now gives adjacent items 20% crit chance for the fight when you use them. Oh, when you use them, that could be insane. Your properties now lose value when you lose a fight with Stained Glass Window. Ooh. What? When you win a fight with Stained Glass Window, your properties gain 4 value. So when you lose a fight, they lose value? That's insane. I love this change. Maybe I don't. It's funny. I'll say that. It's funny. It might not be great. We'll see. Balance changes other. Hammer damage increased from 220, 40, 80, previously 20, 30, 40. And its upgrade effect now targets the item on the left. That is amazing. So hammer, this item, it was a style item. When you level up, if you have at least 3 tools, upgrade an item. This now specifically upgrades the item to its left. And they've buffed its damage from 10, 20, 30, 40 to 20, 40, 80. I guess it now only starts at silver tier because it used to start at bronze. So, because now you're going to largely going to have it on your board, right? If you wanted to actually upgrade something, it's going to have to be on your board. Well, not have to, but there's a chance it will. So it's more usable on your board now. Necronomicon now inflicts 3 poison and gives 3 regen per trigger instead of 1 each. Necronomicon. That sounds a lot scarier. That sounds a lot scarier. It's already difficult to beat this thing. You can get it at diamond tier? No. It's already very scary to beat the Lich when you find him. Now it's going to be 3 of each. That's going to be tricky. I guess, like, the issue... They've buffed this item because this item wasn't very good. Each time you use an item, it would poison 1 and give you 1 regen, but it increases your item's cooldowns by 1 as well. So your items are harder to use. So I imagine that even if you did beat the Lich, because he appears very early, if you did beat the Lich and you got this item, it was very difficult to use. I mean, I tried using it once or twice and didn't have much luck with it myself. I assume other people have had the problem. So I imagine they've either moved the Lich back, so he's now actually like a late game fight, or they've just nerfed the Lich in some other way, and his Necronomicon is now actually worth having. Dragonwhelp Restorative will now heal equal to this item's damage. Interesting. I wish they'd do more of these. So Dragonwhelp does damage, or burns equal to this item's damage, rather. And then it deals 1 damage. So you want to buff its damage as much as you can. Kind of like Flamethrower. Burns equal to this item's damage. Now Restorative will heal equal to this item's damage. So I want to see more of these. There are a bunch of other examples of this where it doesn't work as you'd expect. I'm glad they're slowly getting through these and fixing them. Beach Ball, Cannonball, and Schematics can now be deadly. Interesting. I assume they do the same thing that, Swashbuckle does. Provides double crit chance bonus to adjacent items. And then enchanted versions of Scrap Metal, Hammer, and Wrench now correctly state they will add enchantments to the item they upgrade instead of providing other effects. That is insane. So items like Wrench, at the start of each day, upgrade a tool. If you enchant that, it will pass that enchantment on. So we can now effectively dupe enchantments. If you enchant Scrap Metal, and you have Combat Core and a regular core, and then sell Scrap Metal, in theory, this means it'll put the enchantment on both items. That is actually kind of insane. And then let me quickly look over the bug fixes to make sure there's nothing crazy hidden in here. Well, first and foremost, we have Ghosts being buffed at the start of combat. That's gone. Okay, so buffed Ghosts, thank God, are now gone. We can finally get our 10 wins again. Fix the bug where enchanted items could lose their buffs when upgraded. Yep, that's another one that people were really scared of. That's also been fixed. And fix the bug where enchanting an item could cause them to lose their buffs as well. So sort of the inverse. Both fixed. So don't worry about those anymore. Okay, now we're getting into some of the items that have been fixed. And a lot of these are either nerfs or buffs. And there are some very scary ones in here. So I'm just going to quickly go through these. So first of all, fix a bug where Kina, the non-weapon merchant, the peaceful merchant, could actually supply weapons. I assume there were some heroes where weapons weren't tagged up properly. Fixed a bug where Cog would haste more than 1 item per activation. Yep. Anyone that doesn't know, Cog, which says haste an adjacent item, 1 singular adjacent item. The community very recently found out that actually hastes both adjacent items. Yep, that was a bug, so that's been fixed. So Cog now is back to being not as good. Shadow Cloak actually has a tooltip now, so you guys can finally figure out what that does. And the same with Advanced Synthetics. Magic Carpet no longer keeps its buff between fights. That was another issue that was happening. I had one myself and sold it. Basically what would happen is Magic Carpet would buff itself during the fight and then would not revert back to normal. So you could just continue scaling it infinitely. Very scary. They finally fixed DJ Robot. So when you buy future versions of DJ Robot at higher tiers, sort of gold and diamond, it will actually spawn nanobots of that tier. Previously, it was just upgrading old ones. It's supposed to spawn more. You're supposed to be able to get an army of nanobots. I'm glad we can finally do that. We'll have a go with that now. They've actually buffed Bushel, which I did not expect to be saying. Technically, the heavy turbo and icy enchantments are now actually landing on the when you heal tag, which is insane. That's just a now much stronger item. They fixed an issue with a bunch of golden items not working from stash. Cash register, cash cannon, beehive, business card, monocle schematic, all weren't working from stash if golden. So if you ever had that problem, that's fixed as well, so don't worry about it now. And then finally onto one that's going to break my heart. Fixed a bug where makeshift barricades slowed all enemy items instead of the specified amount. Rest in peace, makeshift barricade. We had a good run. I'm never buying you, or at least never using you ever again, I'm sorry. They fixed a bug that I saw for the first time today. Forage, which gives you citruses and coconuts, sometimes wouldn't spawn 4 items when you had a friend. I had to triple check that the narwhal was a friend because I only got 2. At least now it's fixed. Now I could have had my extra coconut. The bulldozer nerf that we thought was happening, where his cooldown tag said it was reducing cooldowns by 20, 30, 40 seconds, and we thought he'd been nerfed and it was only ever doing 30. That wasn't really a bug, that was a tooltip issue. He's supposed to do 10, 20, 30 seconds of cooldown reduction. That's all Bulldozer was ever supposed to do, so Bulldozer's never getting that buff, sorry. And they corrected the tooltip with the Angry Balloon Bot. I was talking to someone about this recently. Angry Balloon Bot is very, very good. So it used to say, when your shield breaks, gain damage. Now it reads, when you lose shield, this gains damage equal to a percentage of the shield lost. I still, for the life of me, could not figure out exactly what this calculation was. However, because what would happen is I would be in a fight and I'd have a nice juicy shield, get hit by like a beast of burden or something, and then the Angry Balloon Bot would get some damage. It would get like a good chunk of damage, right? But that's not where the real tastiness of the Angry Balloon Bot came in. What I played the Angry Balloon Bot for was for spamming shields, getting to the Sandstorm, and then as the Sandstorm is deleting my health, Angry Balloon Bot just shot up in damage. And now I can see why. Because you're gaining 10% of the shield lost. But if the Sandstorm is doing 1 damage just over 1 million different ticks, you're going to get at least 1 every time, right? So Angry Balloon Bot now officially the GOAT in Sandstorm fights. And actually tells people what he does now. Items such as Fishing Net will now actually continue to give you items even if you have them at Diamond tier, so you can actually get that second version of a Clamorer even if you have a Diamond one already. And we have some more tooltip previews, or tooltip upgrade previews for Gatling Gun, Finesse Shield, Barnacle Crusted, Poppy Field, Toolbox, Long Strides, and Vengeance. So you can actually see what's going to happen when you go to upgrade them. They are working on this. They're also working on the ability to see upgrades or potential upgrades when you use your level up upgrades, as well as when you see Forger. That's all coming. It's still in closed beta, guys, but they're working on that. All right, that was a relatively chunky patch, and honestly, no one got nerfed into the ground. Things got fixed. Shipwreck and Robotics Factory back to where they should be, to be perfectly honest. The bird is finally long dead. Haste was not touched at all by Vanessa, so expect Haste Poison to be pretty good. And a bunch of other things were lifted up. I'm actually pretty happy with this patch. We'll see how it plays out. Check us out, twitch.tv/artificer, or RTFCR rather, to see how this plays out. But yeah, I'm expecting good things from this patch, but only time will tell. For more news, guides, and other related Bazaar content, you know what to do.